Missouri now allows notarization by video conference. Hello, my name is Tim McCurdy, and I am an estate planning and guardianship lawyer practicing in St. Louis, Missouri. As we are practicing social distancing to fight the coronavirus, many of the things that we just take for granted have become very difficult. For example, what do you do if you need to have a document notarized when that notarization requires that the notary be physically present to observe the person sign the document? Even before Missouri enacted a statewide shelter-in-place order, many hospitals or nursing homes were required to close their facilities to visitors to fight against the coronavirus. And this created significant difficulties and hurdles for individuals who had documents that needed to be signed, but they simply could not get access to a notary to be physically present. On Monday, Governor Parson issued an executive order that temporarily suspends the in-person requirement for the notarization of documents. So this means that we now have the ability to notarize documents if we are observing the signature by video conference. The executive order has various steps that must be followed to make sure that you have a valid notarization under the executive order. And the executive order has different requirements depending on the type of document that you're signing. By that, I don't mean that there are different requirements for estate planning documents compared to financial documents. What I mean is whether or not you are signing a paper document or an electronic document. Paper document is just putting pen to paper. Someone has the paper physically in front of them and you're watching them as they use a pen to sign their name. Electronic document is when they are using their finger perhaps to scrawl their name on a tablet, or they type their name into the computer program for the electronic document, and that acts as their signature, and that needs to be notarized. So we'll talk primarily today about the steps that must be followed when you're signing a paper document, and understanding that there are some additional steps we'll talk about if it is an electronic document. So when you're signing that paper document, first, the individual who is signing must affirmatively represent that he or she is located in Missouri. This can be reflected in the document they're signing, or they can state to you during the video conference, Mr. Jones, where are you today? I'm in my house. It's in St. Louis, Missouri. They've affirmatively represented they are in Missouri. Keeping in mind that with this order, they're trying to keep many of the same protections that exist with in-person notarization while making allowance for the fact that that's difficult to accomplish right now. Also, you have to conduct the signing by video conference that allows for audio-visual communication. That's the way lawyers say, I have to be able to see you and talk to you, and you have to be able to see me and talk to me. Now, I think a lot of us have been on video conference calls, for example, perhaps on a Zoom video conference for the first time. And you see where you have the option on whether to have your camera on or off during the call. That's not an option for notarization. Both sides have to have their camera on. You have to be able to see each other. You have to be able to physically see the person sign the document. They have to be able to see you and interact with each other. As with any notarization, if you don't know the person personally, they will have to provide you a photo ID identifying themselves so that you can notarize the document. Before, they may just hand you their driver's license or their passport. Now they would have to actually show it on the screen so that you can confirm the identity of the person. Another reason why you have to have the interactive video conference to be able to do this notarization. So you have the video set up. The person has affirmatively stated he or she is located in Missouri. If you don't know them personally, they've shown the photo ID, and then they sign the document. And you've observed them sign through the video conference. So once they have signed, you will have your notary acknowledgement that you would sign and place your notary stamp on, notarizing their signature. But because you're doing this remotely under the executive order, there are special requirements that have to be included in that acknowledgement. You have to state in your acknowledgement that the person appeared remotely pursuant to Executive Order 20-08. Now, you certainly are free to create your own acknowledgement based on the requirements of the executive order, but know that the Missouri Secretary of State has created an example acknowledgement that includes those provisions that are required by the executive order. So I would encourage you to use the acknowledgement that the Secretary of State has provided to comply with the requirements of the executive order. For you yourself as the notary, there are also certain requirements. You must be physically located within the state of Missouri. So, for example, say that you are a Missouri notary, but you may be stuck in a different state. You're not going to be able to do video conference notarization because you have to physically be located in Missouri. You're also required to identify the county where you are physically located in your notarial certificate. Now, this is something that we've always done, but it's never been something to think about because you were physically present with the person. You were both in the same county. But now you may be notarizing a document for someone who isn't in the same county. So one way to do this is just simply with the part of the acknowledgement where it has State of Missouri, County of. Make sure that when you're filling that in, you use the county where you as the notary is located, even if the person signing is in a different location, because you have to identify the county where you were located when you notarized the document. So what happens after they sign? So you've used video conference. The person has affirmatively represented he or she is in Missouri. You have viewed their photo ID. If you don't know them personally, you watch them sign. You use the special acknowledgement to complete the notarization. What happens next? The executive order requires that the person who signed the document is able to transmit that document that was signed to the notary, so that the notary is the one that receives the document, because the notary has the acknowledgement that needs to be included with that document. Now, this is another example of something that we would take for granted that could be done simply, that becomes more of a challenge with social distancing. What if the person isn't able to mail the document? What if they can't get to a post office? What if they don't have mailing supplies to be able to send you what has been signed? The executive order says that the person who signs can send the document to the notary either with the original document that they signed, so the paper copy, or they can send an electronic copy. So that could be a scanned PDF that they email to the notary. It could be sent by fax, but they'd have to find some way to send either the original or an electronic copy of that document to the notary within 5 business days. I would recommend that regardless of how the person sends you that document within the 5 business days, that as the notary you still obtain the original document at least at some point, so that you have the paper record, that you have the original signature matched with the original notarization just to have, because there may be a time where you need that document, and as notaries there's a comfort in just knowing, okay, I have the document. But what happens though if you're not able to do that? Whether it's a document that the signer needs to retain themselves for the original, or just logistically they're not able to get you the document, but you have received the electronic copy as allowed under the executive order. The executive order also allows for that electronic copy of the document to serve as an original if you need some form of paper copy of the document. Say it's something that has to be recorded, or for whatever reason you need a paper document to serve as the original, but you only have the electronic copy. Under the executive order, you're allowed to print that off with your acknowledgement, but you also have an additional step where you need to include an attestation stating that it's a true and accurate copy of the document that was signed. So the steps for this, for example, let's say that they emailed you a PDF of the document. You have added your signed acknowledgement, whether you've created one PDF with those or you print it off and you've included them together. And then you as the notary need to sign an attestation stating that this paper copy is a true and accurate copy of the document that was signed, and that as a part of that attestation you need to identify or put your signature along with the stamp. So now that you have completed the signing, you've received the original, you also need to make your journal entry for your notary journal. Naturally, the person is not going to be able to sign that journal to reflect that you witnessed their signature. The executive order also provides for how to handle this, where the difference would be when you're making your journal entry, you need to state the exact time when it was signed, but then also the type of software that was used for the signature. So for example, if you sign this using a Zoom video conference, then you would reflect the date and you would put the time, and then you would also put that it was done by Zoom video conference. Again, these are the steps that are used when you are signing a paper document, and the order has additional requirements if you are signing an electronic document. So again, this is when you're signing to a tablet or you're typing your name into the computer. This is something where you don't have a paper record, so you don't have a document to put your notary stamp on, your seal. So you have to be registered as an e-notary to notarize an electronic document. This is something where you need to specifically contact the Secretary of State to be registered as an e-notary before this can be accomplished. Keep in mind, though, that these provisions will enable us to serve our clients or to assist individuals who need to sign their documents by notarizing by video conference, but it is only a temporary order. The laws that require in-person signatures with notarization are by statute. It's something that can only be permanently changed by the legislature. The governor is able to suspend these rules because of the declaration of a national and statewide emergency, and because the governor is acting under his emergency powers, it is limited. The governor's order is set to expire on May 15th, meaning that the ability to notarize by video conference will only be in place through May 15th. Now, the order specifically says that if necessary, this can be extended, although let's all naturally hope that they are able to let this expire on May 15th, because that would mean that they are beginning to ease some of the social distancing restrictions. I hope you found this video to be useful, as we are now learning how to apply this order that will enable you to notarize documents by video conference. Please keep in mind that this is general information provided for educational purposes and should not be relied upon for a specific legal issue or legal question that you may have. If you do have questions about the use of video conference for notarization or any other issues, please feel free to reach out and contact me, and I'd be happy to talk through your issue with you. Thank you.